Okay. Cool. Okay. Thank you for joining today. And the objective of this webinar is to provide significant value to all the participants over here, to give you information on on-prem Hadoop migration to AWS, what are the risk mitigation strategies that you could follow, and also qualify some of the customer who could be the potential candidate for fully funded 2-day EMR migration workshop. And I'll talk about this migration workshop towards the end of this webinar. One of the key thing is, this is no cost to you, but there is a process to qualify that depending on what stage you are in the process of migrating your on-prem Hadoop environment to AWS. Quick agenda over here. We're going to do a quick intro, and then we'll get into Hadoop market in general, on-prem to cloud migration patterns, different patterns that we are seeing with many of our customers, and what is happening in the industry. We'll go through that, and then focus on EMR, AWS Elastic MapReduce. Why EMR? So we'll go over some of the high impact results that people have achieved while moving from on-prem Hadoop to AWS EMR. So we'll go over that, and then we'll go into typical challenges that people are facing on-prem elephant Hadoop. So, and the value of the cloud-based Hadoop Spark on Amazon, and then how we are future-proofing our ecosystem, because every other day some of the new technology is coming up or new services coming up, and how we keep up and make sure that our systems are future-proof ecosystem. And then go over the migration workshop, and then I'll quickly go over some of the case studies where the advantages people have, go in depth into the case studies, where high impact results are achieved. Quick introductions over here. Here is me over here, Pratpal Sahota is I. So I'm a technical account executive with Provectus. I'm extremely excited to be your presenter today to impart, as much as information that to you, so that it is a knowledgeable session overall and help you to make decisions down the line. And we have with us Stepan on the call too. He's our CTO, Chief Technology Officer. As far as my background is concerned, I have been in data analytics and data engineering space for the last 20 years. I've been working with big data since 2008, and then in 2010, 2011, started working on cloud data platforms like EMR. And my role over here is technical account executives at Provectus, and which is a dual role of technical and biz dev. So I manage some large named accounts in addition to other responsibilities. So who is Provectus? Provectus is a machine learning and big data engineering consulting company. We are AI first technology consulting, and we focus on AI, ML, data analytics, DevOps, and cloud transformation for our customers. We were established in 2010, headquartered in Palo Alto, right in Silicon Valley and Bay Area over here. And we have offices across North America and Europe. We have over 450 employees. We keep customer-centric approach. We look into what is it best for the customer to come up with the right solutions for the customers. What are our competencies? We focus on 3 competencies: machine learning. We employ various different kind of machine learning methods and applications to either increase the revenue or decrease the cost of operational cost, depending upon the need and the customer, or also in some areas like, increase the safety of the workers, things like that. So this is a very big competency for us. And then big data engineering, that is another bigger competency for us. We have done many big data engineering implementations over the years. And DevOps it complements all of these things. You cannot productionalize things if you do not have a good DevOps offering as a part of it to package it. Amazon, recognize us as a machine learning, DevOps, data analytics competency partner. We are really excited about it, and we are advanced partner as of today. And in near future, that level could change. What is our market focus? This is a very, very nice mix of two set of different type of customers that we have. We have innovative tech companies, most of them based in Bay Area, that when we work with them, we are on the cutting edge. We are doing some interesting stuff which is coming out in the market. And then once those are stabilized, some of these things we go take into enterprises. So PepsiCo is one of our customer, GE is one of our customer, Blue Bottle, and you can see a few other names over here. So one of the key thing is, we are always on the cutting edge, stabilizing the technology, and also utilizing in the enterprise side of the equation. Hadoop market, how the Hadoop market looks as of today, and what kind of patterns that we are seeing. By the way, this whole content is co-created with AWS, so it will give you the taste of how we are aligned with AWS offerings, because we are core partner with them, and that's what our alignment with AWS is there. So this is an interesting slide. It has been these kind of growth on big data has been there for some time, but there are some changes happened in the last few years. So there's a rapid growth in cloud adoption of big data space. This is a big one. It is 7.5x faster than on-prem installs, and there's a reason for that. We'll go over those things as we go through this webinar. And then there's uncertainties with leading Hadoop commercial vendors for multiple different reasons, because business headwinds that they have and lack of flexibility, and then many other things, that the performance per price that they offer, and the other CapEx expenses and things like that that you have to do. We'll go through those challenges in detail. It's large and growing Hadoop market, So it will be $9.4 billion by 2024. So that's a huge, huge market out there. And another important thing which I've seen is being in technical roles in the past life multiple times, what I've seen is new big data engineers, or even the existing big data engineers in the market, they want to work on cloud-based big data solutions. They do not want to work on on-prem solutions. Some of them are, but they will prefer to work in big cloud-based big data solutions. So right here, I have a quick question, because I want to make sure that this will be entertaining and also interactive session to some extent. So the question that I have to my attendees over here is, what Hadoop Spark distro are you currently using in your company? For example, you could be using Cloudera, MapR, or Apache Hadoop Spark, or are you using some Spark workloads on Databricks? If you could take a moment over here and then, key in the chat window what you guys are using, that'll be really helpful. You could send a private message to me also, or you could send it to everybody. I'm just gonna give you a couple of seconds over here. Okay, moving forward. So AWS has, working with AWS, we came up with this, what are the different patterns that we are seeing in the marketplace, and what we have seen in the marketplace based on our experience in the last 5 to 6 years, what is happening out there. So there is a typical pattern that we have seen, some people have on-prem Hadoop distro, they just simply want to move to the cloud, and they want to move to EMR. And they want to do lift and shift because they want to they do not want to, they want to reduce the risk to the minimum. That is one way of doing it, And another way is re-architect, which is very, very popular, where you basically take on-prem Hadoop distro and then move it to EMR in a completely new architectures with complementary services. And I'll go over in detail on these things as we go along. And the next pattern that we are seeing is, to take one step further. That is a next-gen architecture. In the next-gen architecture, you're getting all the advantages that you're going to get in re-architecture. But on the top of that, you are not dependent only on HDFS. You may have non-HDFS, components as a part of your big data ecosystem. And on the top of that, you'll have streaming analytics and, streaming machine learning, on the fly, advanced analytics on the streams, in-stream analytics. And that is, so your workloads still do similar things, but you have a capability which is of next-gen architecture to take your environments from point A to point B. Pattern C is, people are comfortable with their Hadoop on-prem distro. They want to keep the same on-prem distro on AWS. For example, Cloudera on-prem to Cloudera AWS. And the next one is re-platform, which is basically Hadoop distro on-prem to Hadoop distro on AWS, but with additional optimization. For example, separation of compute and storage, and continue to use some serverless offerings that Amazon has. And the redistro is, some people could be using Cloudera on-prem and they want to move to a different distro on Amazon. So it's a similar thing, but depending upon the needs, whatever your needs are, we look into it and then we help you walk through it. I just want to point out that because this is 1 hour webinar, and this webinar's focus is these 3 areas that we're going to focus on: repurchase, which is basically on-prem Hadoop distro to EMR on AWS, and re-architecture, which is very, 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 very popular. Hadoop distro on-prem to AWS EMR on a new architecture. And another popular one is next-gen architecture, where you go into the next-gen architecture where there are some non-HDFS components that are available out there, and streaming is available too. And streaming you could consider as a part of re-architecture also, depending upon what are the workloads that you're running currently on-prem. Why Amazon EMR? By the way, I started working with Amazon EMR. I started working with Hadoop in 2008 and started working on Amazon EMR build solutions in 2010, 2011. So, I've seen the growth, I've seen the depth and the breadth of work that they have done or feature they have added, and it is incredible. And I'll go through, some of those details right here. So just to, I know lots of people may know it, but just want to go over quickly where EMR exists in the overall ecosystem of AWS. It's basically a part of their analytics and machine learning and big data engineering, ecosystem over here. So you could see right over here, in the middle of analytics area, you'll see the EMR. It could be your standard Hive or Hadoop, MapReduce or whatnot, or Spark, workloads. And it is in combination with complementary services that comes along over here. So it's an enterprise-grade Spark Hadoop managed service. So this is a very important part of it. It's an enterprise-grade service for all different kind of users, whether you are a data analyst or you are a data engineer or, processing vast amount of data, or, a business user or a machine learning person who want to get the best out of, their machine learning, who want to get the best out of their machine learning, machine learning applications. So it gives you the flexibility of that part, and it comes in the ecosystem. You have SageMaker, also on the top of it. So it's a part of the same ecosystem over here. It gives you, because it's a part of the same ecosystem, it gives you very big advantages over on-prem solutions. Okay, so There was an IBC case study done in 2018, migrating on-prem Hadoop to Amazon EMR, I think late 2018. And now I think these metrics will be even better. So they found that they find 57% reduced cost of ownership. That's amazing, you know. If I'm the manager or if I'm the decision maker, that's a great thing. And then they found that there is 342% 5-year ROI. That's even amazing, you know. And then on the top of that, you know, the efficiency of the team went up, like big data teams, 33%. And even the management staff's efficiency went up. And they see 99% reduction in unplanned downtime, because I've seen people running around with disks and things like that, you know, and then instances going down. There's so many things, you know, in a large environment, or even any kind of 20, 30 nodes, or even 100 nodes cluster, it happens on-prem. So it basically alleviates so many metrics for business that it is the right fit for lots of people, those who are running on-prem clusters as of today. So it's basically, Analyst is talking about it. And EMR power so many, you know, power some of the most innovative and large companies like Salesforce, you know, you could say Airbnb, there are petabytes of data. So, and then Amazon itself, and then there are lots of people that you could see over here, lots of companies, those who use EMR. So this is, I'm just gonna quickly, you know, give you sneak peek of some of the key metrics of some companies, those who moved from on-prem to in the cloud in AWS, and then what kind of advantages that they have got, and few names over here. FINRA, you know, process 135 billion events a day related to securities, and they have a cost saving of 60% by simply moving into on-prem onto in AWS, you know, and 60%, $20 million, you know, which is huge benefit for them. Not only that, you know, they have benefit on the developer productivity also, but this is a big one. IMVU, you know, moving from on-prem to the cloud. They have 6 million active players, 40 million virtual goods. They're a social gaming platform, you know, and 40 million virtual goods is the largest number of virtual good catalog in the world. Last time I checked. Airbnb, you know, they have petabytes of data, you know, huge amount of data and ever increasing. They improved their Spark performance by 3x. So you'll see the theme that people reducing their cost and improving the performance of their workloads, which is an amazing thing from any system that can provide, the change can provide, you know. AOL saves 75%, 60% more efficient. Same thing with Vanguard, you know, cost advantages. And then Epic Games, there is also a gaming platform. They do real-time analytics for 140 million players, you know. And Salesforce scales 3,000 transient clusters on daily basis. So, and I'll talk about transient cluster. That is a beautiful thing to keep the cost down and also separate the concerns of various different type of workloads on a big data environment. Same with GE, Asurion, and Zillow. So you could see that, you know, so many companies are taking advantage of this great new and established, you know, big data platform in the cloud by moving from on-prem to the cloud. Okay, what is the need for the change, you know? And what are the challenges of on-prem cluster? Why do we want to change? So just want to quickly go over these challenges, you know, and this will basically a story of a typical big data engineer or support staff or even the management staff. And on the top of that, the users, those who are using these environments, they face these challenges over the years. Even though they have done a great job over the period of time, and they, you know, on-prem Hadoop clusters, they have done an awesome job but the time of change has arrived because people want more now and in a reduced cost. So one of the biggest one, I always used to think about that, why I'm being forced to increase storage, simply when my only compute needs are going up. Because you have to do it, you have to add new instances along with data locality. You have to keep disks as a part of the instance itself. So it basically forces you to grow two things together when you need a growth of only one thing. You may need only growth of compute, and it's forcing you to increase storage. So similarly, other way around too. So that impact cost basically. And then replication adds, so typical replication is 3x in HDFS, in on-prem Hadoop, and that adds to the cost. And you'll see that when you see how EMR works, you do not have similar type of challenges. So this is another interesting one. You have on monthly basis, there will be days, like let's say, on a week, on a certain day, you'll see a peak of usage of your large monolithic on-prem cluster, okay? And other days there's a silence, and then you may have a monthly reprocessing, and that day, the resources are really scarce, and you're doing huge amount of processing, and another person is trying to get interactive query in also, and then another Spark load coming in, and then there is a contention, and people are waiting for each other. Some jobs are failing because of that. So this is a very, very common thing, that in large monolithic cluster that you have, because you have a large infrastructure, which is basically, we are trying to optimize for peak load, but it is never optimized for peak load in general. And at the same time, so you have contentions, and on the top of that, you have underutilization for a large period of time. So you have weekly peaks, reprocessing, and steady state where big old Hadoop is sitting out there not doing much. Contention for the same resources. This is a very, very interesting one. So like all of you guys know, Hive is a compute bound, Spark is a memory bound, and then there are many other services too, but this is a good distinction over here. So because this is two different type of resources, and we are force fitting to the same set of platform, same platform, so we face problems because you do not have the flexibility of separation over here. And then when engineers saw these issues on-prem, they came up with certain solutions, and those solutions I'll talk to as we go down, but those solutions turn out to be not that great solutions, but we'll talk about that. And then another one, which is very, very important, is because this big data environment, it's not like there's only one class of users. You have all different kind of users, and you have all different kind of business units as a part of your user group, and you'll have large scale transformations going on. It could be MapReduce, it could be Hive, Pig, Spark, or you could have interactive queries, Impala, Spark SQL, Presto, and you could have machine learning going on in stream, Spark ML, or TensorFlow, or MXNet. So you have your data scientists, you have data analysts, you have data engineers, and on the top of that, people are using Jupyter Notebook, on the data science side of the equation, and there could be some user in the business unit also. It could be a marketing data scientist sitting in marketing group or somewhere else, they're using it. So it's a mix of different business units and different type of workloads with different class of users, those who are working on the same platform. And because of that, what happened is, let's say if one of the set of users, they want to change the version, they want to upgrade the version of Presto, but they can't because it's a monolithic cluster. It has to go through the proper planning, and everybody has to agree on it. So it becomes a cumbersome task. So for my workloads, I'm getting held hostage by Stepan's workload, for example. So it happens all the time. So there's no flexibility. Separation of resources is one of the solutions that they came out, but that created data silos. It's not very good. No, you have separate data silos created for Hive, Spark, and Team A. It was not the best solution. And then this is the summary of the challenges I just talked about. Similar things, but these challenges will tell you that there is a lot of limitations in having large monolithic cluster. What is the value of cloud-based Hadoop Spark with Amazon EMR? First thing, they decouple the storage and compute so that compute can move up and down on need basis. So this was the big one. And the second was S3 is your persistent data store. And it has got 11 nines of availability. And you could use EMR FS to directly write to Amazon S3 also if you want to write from EMR. That is possibility too. And it has got all the flexibility that comes with Amazon S3 of low cost and many varieties of data it can hold, and lifecycle policies, versioning, distributed by default. One big benefit of moving to EMR is, you could have multiple Amazon EMR clusters, and if you want to turn off a cluster, you can simply turn off a cluster, because you'll see that you have Amazon S3 as your main persistent data store. So because that's the main persistent data store, you are not held hostage to have forced nodes up on a monolithic cluster. So you could have multiple of those. Beautiful built-in disaster recovery, because of S3, that's the biggest thing. And then you could use different zones also, and you could have a different availability zone for your EMR cluster, and using S3 enables you those things, and also the flexibility of the cloud itself. AWS provide extreme flexibility, and that in combination with S3 being a persistent store enable you to do that. Autoscaling. Awesome, autoscaling is a very big part of it. We start with some baseline cluster, and we know that now the load increases, and we scale it up. So it can be done using a CloudWatch metrics and few other things. It can look into John resource management metrics also. On the basis of that, on need, expand the cluster. So this is another important one, logical separation of jobs. This is a very important one. So you'll see that, in a typical on-prem monolithic cluster and any other big data environment also, there are multiple things which are happening. So you have in the beginning of the month, huge amount of, or beginning of the week, huge amount of, Hive processing jobs are going on, or MapReduce processing jobs are going on. And then at the same time, there's some Spark workloads are going on, and some machine learning, Spark ML Live work is going on, and some Spark SQL is going on. So all these things are their mixed workload, and you'll see that there are hotspots during the month, and during the week, and during the day, and then there are underutilized areas. So large amount of underutilized areas. So the solution for that is to create purpose-built transient cluster. Use it and shut it down afterwards. So one of the key things that is very, very important over here I want to mention is, so you're not dependent only on Yarn resource management. So you could still use that for your cluster, but at the same time, you do not need to have one single cluster. You could have multiple purpose-built clusters because they're using the same set of data which is on S3. So that basically separate the cluster by application, by business units, and anything that depending upon the way you want to do it. In certain large organization, they want to have a multi-tenancy, and they want to charge back properly to the VUs, and it is easily doable. And also the different type of workloads can be separated. That will basically help you on the performance side of the equation, and also will help you on management also. So another important thing is how to reduce the cost. Quickly give an example. So let's say you have a baseline EMR cluster, and you have a 10 node cluster running for 14 hours. and the cost comes to $140, okay? And you wanna go ahead and scale more nodes with Spot, okay? Spot instances. And what that does is it decreases your overall cost, because next 10 nodes for next 7 hours could be added at 0.5 per node. And what this does is, so it reduces the time for you to process the data from 14 hours to 7 hours. That's great news, you know. On the top of that, what it does is it reduces the cost from 140 to 105. So this is just one example. Depending upon the size of your cluster, you will have huge savings. So same thing. So this is another thing, you know, I just want to quickly go over here. So you could mix different on-demand and, first of all, on-demand and Spot instances. And also you could diversify your instance type, as long as their memory and, you know, CPUs are in line, because you don't want to have a mismatch of resources on each instance. Otherwise, some instances will finish the jobs earlier than others and sit idle. So we have, you know, we have done multiple times. We have a methodology to identify the right instances as a part of, so that keep the cost low and provide the right amount of performance. So EMR self-service with AWS Service Catalog, it provides you great benefit over here, which you can see over here: standardize, enforce consistency, limit access, enforce tagging and security groups, developer autonomy, big one-stop shop, automate deployments, and agile governance in both configure and consume area. Yeah. And this will make life easier for both consumers and the people, those who support these systems. Spark performance. This is a big one. You know, EMR is extremely focused on the Spark, improving the Spark performance. You could see that, you know, between EMR version 5.16 on the top left corner, a workload, which is a TPC DS 3 terabyte dataset workload, was taking 1 minute 89 seconds, and in 5.28 version of EMR, it is taking 0.77 seconds, less than half. So they understand the need of Spark in the market, and they have put a huge amount of resources to improve it on consistent basis, and this is a huge improvement. And also they're working internally on forking Spark from open source Spark to add some new improvements and enhancements as a part of their offering in EMR. Same thing, this is an enterprise grade Hadoop Spark. That's the major thing that to point out. So it's enterprise grade, you know, you see consistent improvements across the board in many different areas. So you have fully managed EMR notebooks where, you know, you're still using the same notebook, same Jupyter notebook to build application. It's basically, that's the base of EMR notebooks, but you could manage across the environments. You could debug, monitor, and use S3 as a automatically backup for that. So it's the same Jupyter notebook that everybody is using. It's not different. If you want to continue to use your Jupyter notebook, you are more than welcome to do that. But if you want to use this thing, this is another benefit that you have. Again, analysts are confirming the lowest TCO across the board. I talked about IDC earlier. Now there's a Gartner study also that came in December 2018 that AWS remains the largest Hadoop provider in terms of both revenue and user base. And that's huge, you know, so that means lots of people are using it, and that makes Amazon to put more and more resources into it to make it better and better over the period of time, you know. And it's a clear leader in Forrester research, right on the top right corner. Benefits, you know, you leverage the broadest analytics ecosystem that is available to you. So the most important is, you know, there are many important ones, but one of the most important one is machine learning. So you have ecosystem of SageMaker, deep learning AMIs, you know, deep lens, comprehend, translate, transcribe, poly, or your own custom developed machine learning methods and applications on the top of it. And then you have a real-time data movement, whether you have an IoT kind of needs, or you have Kinesis Firehose. So these systems are integrated tightly. That's the beauty of it. And you don't need to jump through the hoops to integrate those. So it basically gives you cost advantage, performance advantage, and availability of large ecosystems, so that your time to market of any product that will be powered by these systems can decrease. That's a big thing. Time to market, that's money. Lost opportunities otherwise if you take more time to market. Benefit, I already gone over these, benefits is auto-scaling, disaster recovery, transient cluster, big one, and then overall TCO is lower than on-prem infrastructure. So this is a good one. All these things are good. All these great benefits that we have, right? And there's good reason to move because of these great benefits. But man, every single day, something new comes up. How can I future-proof my system? Because do I have to go and try to stabilize a new application or new tool or new technology that is coming up every single time because there's a need for me? The good news over here is, because Amazon is putting huge amount of resources to stabilize and to make these systems future-proof, they come up with new services to do that. And some of the examples over here, you could see that. You have a serverless analytics. That's huge. I come from the world of ETL way back 15, 20 years. We have Informaticas of the world and many other tools, right? Nothing wrong with them. They do great job. But, when the data volume goes up and then the management overall, on-prem of high meta stores, which is doable, but, the serverless components adds great value. So you have Glue. It's an ETL and data catalog for you, which is tightly coupled, with the overall ecosystem. And it works on S3 and along with, in the same ecosystem in EMR. And you could use Athena, serverless query engine, which is based on Presto. And you could use the same SQL that you have used on Presto in Athena. And it is a serverless engine, so you don't need to worry about the resources. So some of your workloads related to querying or ad hoc querying or some other type of querying, or your machine learning expert want to check the data, it can be easily done by Athena itself over here. So your AI ML guy just send a query and then put it in a quick site or any other business intelligence or dashboarding tool for consumption purpose. So this is great. And another one, so I've already gone over Glue. So it's basically auto-generate customizable ETL code in Python, Scala, and Spark, which is huge, depending upon your need. In some other cases, you will have to write your own, but in some cases you may not need to. And then why you want to if you don't need to? So you could utilize that service over here. And in Glue, the crawlers automatically discover data and store schema. So that's another thing, that it will give you the schema definitions, and it helps you to maintain those easily, and also catalog data searchable, make the data searchable, overall. And if you want to go to a deeper catalog, like deeper metadata, so you could use some additional services also which are available out there. So data on the context perspective. So those are things are there, but Glue is an awesome option over here for serverless ETL and data catalog. And the good thing is it's available right there, and you could quickly integrate it. It does not take weeks or months to do things. So it takes days or hours depending upon your needs. Amazon Athena, I just talked about it, same standard NC SQL interface, right? So that's amazing, because a lot of people on data side, they still use SQL as a default tool to extract, and for good reason. It has served us well for many, many years, and whether it's machine learning experts or data engineers. So the most important thing that in my experience and in our experience as a company, we saw that not only it gives you good amount of performance, okay, it gives you great performance for price that you're paying for it. In some cases, 30 to 90%, 30 to 90% saving on query, and if you use proper compressions. So this is a very, very important piece over here, and it has a zero setup, guys. Just point to S3 and start querying. And AWS Lake Formation, this is making our life even more easier to manage the big data environments and overall big data platforms. And you build data lakes in days versus weeks. Okay, so you create data lakes, you import data, you set up table permissions, user permissions, and search data catalogs, add metadata, monitor activity, download logs. So all those things nicely put together in one single application, lake formation. And this is really, really cool, because I come from the world where I used to manage with my own hand on command line, and still command line, but there's so many things which are put together properly over here, which is really, really cool. It helps you to manage easily. So whether it's ingestion, security, collaboration and use, or monitoring and audit, it gives you all 4 pillars for any data platform that you need as a part of it. So this is the important one, how do we accelerate your migration from on-prem to Amazon EMR? And Amazon has great resources. Working with Amazon, we came up with some great resources. And some of the things that I want to talk about before I go over there, that how people migrate based on our experience. What is the best way to go forward? And because based on our experience, the way we have done it. A multi-phase approach is the best practice for deployment, okay? Because you have invested a lot into your on-prem infrastructure and you build so many applications to keep the overall cost low, and also, the performance and everything. So the way you do it is, you find the right instance size, we're using S3, we talked about it. Really good amount of use of transient cluster. I cannot stress more. This is a really big one, from keeping the cost low and providing the right performance to our users, and then using autoscaling, spot pricing, and then automating the orchestration. So this is the way to go to the total TCO comparison. If you really want to compare TCO between on-prem and AWS, Amazon, and AWS EMR, this is the right way to do it. And we do this thing, we help our customers to go through from right from the beginning, the discovery, to the automation and the orchestration. So that's our expertise. And in addition to that, we do mitigate a lot of other migration risks. I could fit in only a few of those over here. And so to start with, we analyze all the application workloads to a certain compute, memory, and storage needs, and what time of the day or the week, the month they run, because we create those swim lanes that I show you, okay? And then this is a very important one. Create a business value and implementation complexity model for all application and workloads. Work closely with you, with your business users, and with you on the engineering side or on the IT side, and then plot a business value versus complexity prioritization metrics. And once we do that, and we try to be basically bold over here. We try to go for a high value task, but we don't shy away if that high value task lies in the medium complexity too. So it doesn't matter, because based on our experience we have done in the past, we have seen that by giving good amount of business value in the beginning stages will evangelize the overall platform much faster rate. So the way we start is we do organized mirroring of data load onto AWS EMR cluster with on-prem Hadoop cluster. So your on-prem Hadoop cluster is still serving their customer, is still consuming the data. We start moving the mirroring of some of the data loads onto AWS EMR also. And when those loads move over there, we could start processing workloads and other things and start moving in an orderly fashion. This is very important, guys, that we have to move in an orderly fashion. And when we do an orderly fashion, then we identify certain excited innovators within the team who is excited to be the first and also lie right on the top of this circle over here, initial workloads to migrate, which has got high business value and right amount of complexity. And we pick those and we help our customers to move those workloads onto AWS in an orderly fashion, rather than just in one single go. One great thing, to tell you that because we have a huge amount of experience, you don't need to learn on the job for this thing of migrating on-prem Hadoop cluster to AWS. We have done multiple times, and that's why I've mentioned over here is don't shy away to working with experts like Provectus to lead the effort. We'll work closely with your team, we'll help your team, we'll make them self-sufficient also. Our goal is that, and at the same time, we want to make sure that you start seeing the business value of the platform quickly. So this is an important one. Amazon and Provectus along with Amazon is offering on-site migration workshop. Depending upon where you are in the cycle of moving to cloud, we are offering 2 days, 2 full days, no cost to you, fully funded workshop on-site at your site. So what we'll do is we'll go through these benefits that I talk about in much more detail level, so that you understand, we'll be able to see that, okay, this is applicable to me, this is not applicable to me. And then we'll go through stories from the trenches, deep dive into those stories and give you a couple of real life stories, and then hands-on guided labs. This is another important one. So our goal is to give you hands-on guided lab, so your in-house resources also understand that what is going to happen when we move on to it and what kind of challenges they're going to face, answer their questions. And we'll deep dive into security, because security is big, encryption, authorization, authentication. And then, any questions, all of these sessions are interactive sessions. So you get a lot of value out of it. And on the day 2, we'll start working on the business challenges and understand the SLAs that you're seeking, and what are the key business goals that you're trying to achieve, identify use cases, and at the same time, deep dive into collect and store stages. So how do we ingest data, and what formats are there, and which format we should move in what way, and things like that. And in addition to that, understanding your existing environment, how big it is, what are the different methods that we could use to move the data. Initial data set can be moved and using certain tools, which could be devices. And at the same time, once we reach to a catch-up state, we could start mirroring the data on daily basis. And then, as a part of the second day of migration workshop, we'll go into deep dive sessions into orchestration, logging, monitoring, so that, your operational staff, can enjoy their time with the family. So they don't need to worry about too much. So if an issue is going to appear, is ugly head, they can see it, alerting, and then jump on it before the failure happens. So there's so many great advantages that you should take advantage of this workshop. I highly recommend it you, because it's no charge to you. And it will be run by Provectus in combination with solution architects from AWS. So I would personally say that, think about getting this workshop as a part of your jumpstart to moving into AWS cloud, your big data infrastructure. And that'll give you many other advantages and benefits, which I already talked about. So good one over here is, so you need to, we'll work with you, just think about it, where you are in the stage, and wherever you are in the stage, it will be good to have a complimentary face-to-face, it will be good to have a 30-minute session to schedule with us, just to do initial assessment, even before if we're gonna go into a 2-day workshop or not. So maybe this is a good time for you guys to think about it and type in the chat if you guys are interested, whoever is interested, and we'll take a note of it and then ping it back to you guys. Okay, I'm gonna go quickly into case studies, in a little bit more details. I talked about FINRA, they basically oversee 3,000 security firms, and they analyze 99% of the equities from those 3,000 security firms, 65% of the options actively traded in US, which is great. And that means it's a huge, huge data environment. And they need to do on the fly many things, including their machine learning models might be running at the same time, alerting them for fraud and many different things. So FINRA needs to process up to 110 billion events per day. And these are complex events, with users needing to query complex surveillance data of over 20 petabyte trade records, which is huge, huge amount of data. But given said that, all these solutions are not for only huge amount of data. Even if your data is relatively smaller today, these are workable solutions. So work with us to talk about what your needs are, and we'll provide you the right solution, because we have invested a lot in AWS, Amazon competencies, and we have helped many customers over the years. Like, we have currently active over 50 customers. Solution. So the challenge was they want to process 110 billion events per day, large amount of data, and then also have other analytics, near real-time analytics. So migrated big data appliance to S3 data lake, EMR using dynamic clusters. So that is really, really great. So you could have Hadoop, Hive, HBase, and depending upon your needs, Spark loads also. And I'm sure they have Spark loads also. Result, $20 million of saving. That's huge. And also the performance. And you get the performance that you're seeking. That's big. Airbnb, again, they were very big on-prem, and when they thought about moving to cloud, some of their workloads and moving in orderly fashion, they thought of Amazon, of course, because Amazon is a clear leader for that. And they have 2.9 million hosts supporting 800,000 nightly stays. Huge. Their hyper growth, okay, that along with some of their workload changes. For example, new Spark workloads were required. Their performance was going down, and they were wasting resources in some cases. So they build a solution on the top of with S3 and EMR, optimizing Hadoop with spot pricing, auto-scaling, and quickly incorporate other AWS services, drive experimentation framework, smart pricing, and recommendation engines. So the result was they have reduced expenses, and also 3x improvement in Spark jobs. Even though they tried to optimize internally on-prem as much as they can, but they still went ahead and improved on the top of that, the 3x improvement on Spark job. Because the beauty of crystallizing all of your data in S3 is you could have all different options. You could have transient clusters. You could have Spark-specific cluster. There's so many things that you could do. IMVU is world's largest avatar-based social network. They serve 6 million active players. And they have, this is a very interesting thing, they have the largest virtual goods, right? Avatar, I mentioned, 40 million virtual goods. So there is a virtual economy that is going on as a part of microtransactions, and so many events, and each player might be, and all those events has to has to go into their big data platform. They were facing so many issues with on-prem platform. So they needed to future-proof the data platform to drive real-time data streaming and advanced analytics so that they can provide in-game analytics to improve the usage and also to improve the microtransactions that go with in-game analytics. So what we did was, we migrate their data and use multiple different technologies as a part of it. We have EMR, we use S3, Apache Kafka, Apache Airflow, and also Glue, CloudWatch and CloudTrail. In combination with all these solutions were used depending upon the need itself. So we automized their complete CI/CD environment, and this was really big. 400 plus odd Spark workloads migrated, and now they're being used in AWS in an extremely cost-effective, autoscalable architecture, resulting in significant performance gains that they have. And that enabled them, what is the result? That enabled them to take a look into the new monetization opportunities that they can see, whether in-game or otherwise, So this was big for them. So this is the ecosystem, overall in the Amazon EMR, which I already talked about, okay? We are almost near the end of the hour. I just want to go back to this slide over here. I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you set up a 30-minute assessment session with us, with our team, and we will go over in the qualifying process to see that, if you were the right candidate at this point in time to go for EMR migration workshop. So please take advantage of this thing. It does not come every day, because one of the key thing is that, we will have a tag team over here. We'll have AWS solution architects along with our experienced solution architects will come together on your own site and help you guys jumpstart the process of liberating your elephant. And at this point in time, if there is any questions that you guys have, because we are almost on the top of the hour over here, if you could put it in the chat window, we will take a look into it and set up a follow-up session with you guys. So I'll quickly take a look in the chat window if I'm able to answer some of those in one. Okay, I think it will be better to set up follow-up conversations for those things. But at the end, I would say that this on-prem EMR migration workshop. I wish I could have that. I could have availed that 8-9 years back when I started my journey, on big data. But these kind of things were not available at that point in time. This is a huge, huge resource for you guys, where there's 2 set of experts from Provectus, which we have done multiple implementation and migrations. And also Amazon's solution architects will tag team to help you jumpstart your process. Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate, you listening and taking time from your busy schedule. And I hope, and I know that this will be very valuable to you, the information that we imparted today to you. Thank you and have a great day.